In a preseason full of accolades, Trayce Jackson-Davis might have added his biggest one on Monday.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? It is Tuesday, October 25th. This is a Locked On Hoosiers, your one and only daily one-stop shop for everything IU athletics. I'm your host, as always, Jacob Rude. Want to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. This episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Sling TV. Sling has something for everyone, especially when it comes to college football coverage. No IU game this week. Even more reason to download or Sling, because with a massive lineup of games across the ACC, Big Ten, Pac-12, and SEC, I can always watch the games I want on Sling, and now you can too. Check out Sling TV now to see the massive lineup of games they have all season long. Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love. Try it today. Trayce Jackson-Davis has been named all sorts of All-American teams this preseason, but he got the big one on Monday. The Associated Press All-American team was announced on Monday. Trayce Jackson-Davis among the 5 that were honored. It was Trayce Jackson-Davis, Marcus Sasser from Houston, Armando Bacot from Kentucky, Oscar Tshiebwe Bacot from North Carolina, Tshiebwe from Kentucky, Drew Timme from Gonzaga. That's the one that matters. That's the one that everybody remembers. AP All-American. Maybe it's the way it just rolls off the tongue, but it's mainly because it's been around for so long and kind of has that history to go along with it. Trayce has been named a Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook Preseason All-American. College Hoops Today, the Almanac, and CBS Sports all have named him a Preseason All-American. He was also obviously named Preseason Big Ten Player of the Year. Again, to a certain extent, all of this is kind of meaningless because no one remembers the preseason All-Americans. It's the All-Americans after the season, but these are nice honors, nice recognition of your work and where you stand in college basketball. This team is interesting. It's something we've discussed in the past. We talked about it with Locked On Tar Heels host Isaac Shade when we did a crossover episode about the All-American teams, kind of the state of college basketball, because these All-American teams have been full of big men, and that's, I think, going to be a recurring trend for college basketball moving forward in the era of NIL. With the NBA and the kind of modern era that it is in, big men don't really have a spot in the NBA, but they do have a pretty big spot in college basketball with schools willing to pay them good chunks of money. So I think we'll continue to see Bacot, Timme, TJD, Hunter Dickinson, all those guys coming back this season after flirting with the NBA. I think we'll continue to see a lot of decisions kind of go that way. And I think a lot of them are going to be big men that maybe don't have a natural fit in the NBA, but are really good in college basketball, where in the past they might take their chance in the NBA and hope for the best. Now I wonder if maybe they'll stay in college basketball, secure 6-7 figure NIL deals, get a degree, and then give it a shot in professional basketball. We'll see, but for now, I think IU fans are happy that Trayce is back, collecting all of these awards, these honors heading into the season. It's going to be a really special season for the Hoosiers. Trayce is among them. I think my favorite thing has been the approach he's taken with not really caring about these individual accolades. Because, I mean, he's kind of racked them up as such. He was a third-team All-American at the end of last season. Obviously, being first-team All-American matters, but the degree to which it does versus being on a team that wins a Big Ten title, potentially wins a national title, gets IU back to the Final Four, gets IU to the Sweet 16, any of those things I feel like are going to carry more weight than being a All-American at the end of the season. If you just think back to Cody Zeller, Yogi Ferrell, those guys, Victor Oladipo, I don't really remember them for being preseason or postseason All-Americans. I remember them for getting IU back to a level, winning lots of games, getting to Sweet 16s, all those things. That's clearly been what Trayce's goal has been. And he's said that it's about team success now and getting the team to the next level. You could not ask for anything better from basically your captain, your leader, your best player to be this, I guess humble is the right word, and aware of what the goal is. I don't know that you could ask for anything better. It has me really, really excited for this upcoming season. It's going to be a fun one. Trayce is going to, hopefully, knock on wood, find some wood around you. Trayce is hopefully going to have a really, really special season. We talked, I believe, last week about the awards. The stats, the leaderboards. He could rise up, and he's going to be in historic company if he has a season, even just the one he did last year. It's going to be rare air up there where he lands. So if you want to listen to that as well, I believe it was last week talking about Trayce and his scoring and rebounding numbers and what they could look like all time, where he'll rank, things like that. Now, Trayce is obviously the known quantity coming back this year. Two unknown quantities are joining and going to play big roles in Jalen Hood-Schifino and Malik Reneau. We're going to talk about both of them, preview both of them for this upcoming season here in just a moment. First, though, guys, as everyone knows, athletes rise and fall in the ranks, but when it comes to saving money, Simply Safe always stays on top. And right now, you can save big with Simply Safe Home Security. They're giving listeners 40% off their advanced security system. Simply Safe was just named the best home security of 2022 by U.S. News. You guys will love it because at Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. They have 24/7 professional monitoring. When a threat's detected by Simply Safe, professionals promptly contact you, dispatch first responders, even if you're away or can't respond. That 24/7 monitoring costs $1 a day, and that's less than half of ADT's traditional professional installed plans. Simply Safe blankets your home with protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. The monitoring system, the monitoring experts use proprietary response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you get the highest priority police dispatch. Don't miss your chance to save big when you protect your home with the best. Get 40% off your order when you visit simplysafe.com/lockedoncollege today. 40% is nothing to mess with. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes. That's simplysafe.com/lockedoncollege today. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Big thanks to all you guys for making us your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, wherever you guys listen to podcasts at. Let's talk Jalen Hood-Schifino, the biggest of the two freshmen in terms of ranking. I believe he was the higher ranked. Regardless, he's going to have the bigger role this season. Though both are going to play a healthy amount of minutes, Jalen Hood-Schifino is probably going to come in and start from day one for this team. I'd be pretty surprised if he did not. And again, even then, he's going to have a really big role. And he's in this really unique situation. He is an impact freshman that's going to come in without kind of the expectations that come with being that type of freshman. If you look back to Romeo Langford, obviously that was a lot different because he was an Indiana high school kid. There was so much buzz about him, but he came into a program where he was going to be the guy. He had the ball. Everybody was focused on him, and the expectations were really high for him. That's not going to exactly be the case with Jalen Hood-Schifino. And again, it's also because there isn't like the buzz there, but he's going to come into a team that has Trayce Jackson-Davis, Xavier Johnson, even Race Thompson, guys that have been there before that are going to shoulder a good chunk of the burden when it comes to scoring, playmaking, defense, leadership, all that stuff. A lot of those guys are going to shoulder that. So it takes a lot of the expectations away. He has help. Romeo didn't have that. You can look back on the list of top guys that have come here. Cody did. Maybe that's a somewhat more reasonable example. Though, again, Cody was an Indiana guy. I'm not sure there's a one-for-one example that I can really remember for Jalen. But, I mean, he's going to play big minutes this season, but he's not going to be the number one guy. Not coming in right away. He could morph into that with a big season, but he's not going to be that coming in. He is going to be the backup point guard, and I think that's where a lot of his reps are going to come. I would be really surprised if there's ever any minutes IU plays where one of Xavier or Jalen Hood-Schifino are not on the court. I should say like non-garbage time minutes. In the minutes that matter, Jalen or Xavier, one of them will be on the floor this season. I feel like I could almost guarantee that. I'd be really surprised if that was not the case, if one of those guys was not always on the floor, mainly because who's IU's third point guard? Like, there isn't one on the roster. Trey Galloway, Tamar Bates, like, what do you do there if IU gets into that position? That's why I would imagine one of Xavier, Jalen are going to be on the floor. I would also imagine, having said that Jalen's going to start. That means he's going to stagger, I think, a lot with Xavier. I think the two can play off each other pretty well, but staggering them will obviously keep one of them on the floor to lead the way. It's going to be really interesting. If I were Mike Woodson, which I'm not, thankfully, I don't have to make these decisions, I think I would, one of my first subs would be to take Jalen out, let him get his rest, and then bring him in for Xavier, let him run point for against second units, really kind of take advantage of situations there, and then bring Xavier back. Maybe you give Jalen a quick breather again, finish out like that. But it would be something like that where one of the two of them is always on the floor, and in that scenario, you give Jalen the chance to go against second units that aren't going to be quite as tough. Maybe he can get in a little bit more of a rhythm, get his feel as he kind of gets his feet wet in college basketball. Regardless of how he's used, he's in line for a really special season. That we mentioned before, there seems to be some growing buzz that he could be a one and done. If he is a one and done, that's probably a good thing for Indiana. We talked about that, not just for like the state of the program that they can send guys to the NBA, but if he's a one and done, that means he had a good season, kind of simply put. That means he had a really good season. He rose up draft boards, and that would spell good things for Indiana if Jalen Hood-Schifino has a good season. He's going to have some expectations, not as many as others who have been in similar kind of rankings have had before, but I'm really excited to see what he can do. The little bit I watch of him at Montverde in late in the season on ESPN, as I'm sure a lot of you guys did, really intriguing, really exciting what he can do. It could be a lot of fun with him and Xavier this season. It's going to be a lot of fun with Malik Reneau as well. Again, a bit of a different situation, even compared to that of Jalen. We'll talk about him, what his situation looks like, and what role he could have this season. Before we do that, let's talk about LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Everybody has LinkedIn. It's really simple. Head on over to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Create your free job posting. You have a huge audience you get to reach out to. You add your job in the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile so that you spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Again, big shout out to all of you guys who make us your first listen every day. Big shout out to all you guys who have went on over to Apple, given us a rating, a review recently. I see them all. Thank you a ton for that. Really, I know I say it, I know it might sound hollow, but really, thank you guys a lot for that. Malik Renault, another super intriguing prospect. I'm probably saying his name wrong. Hopefully I learn it once these games starts. I'm sorry. I'm not intentionally doing it. I've probably said it a bunch of different ways, even in this episode. He's an intriguing prospect because of the versatility that he has. He can play under the basket, kind of back to the basket traditional center. He's athletic enough that he can play a 4. It'd be interesting to see, maybe even be able to guard some threes, depending on who it is, kind of their size, things of that nature. But that versatility is going to be key for him because it's going to help him get on the floor a lot. I would venture to say he will be the first big man to sub into the game for either Race or Trayce, depending on what the rotations are, what the foul trouble potentially is. I would imagine Malik is going to be the first one to sub in. And he could sub in for either one of them, and it can work. The versatility of those two also helps a lot in that regard too, but this is a front court in general that is very versatile, which is what you want in modern basketball. He's another freshman with a lot of experience in front of him. These two guys are going to benefit a ton just learning from Xavier Johnson, Trayce Jackson-Davis, Race Thompson, Miller Kopp, all these guys that have been there a lot. Even your Jordan Geronimos, your Trey Galloways, your guys that have been there for a couple of years. These guys are going to learn a lot from those guys. And it's not always the case that top freshmen come into a situation like this. You look at your Dukes, your Kentuckys, even some with UNC, Kansas. You're kind of rotating out these one-and-done guys. And there isn't kind of the veteran voices to lead the way to show them how it's done. That is the case with IU. And I think that's going to be really important in guiding these two and helping them to potentially have really strong careers after this season, whether it's going to the NBA, whether I don't think Malik's going to be one and done. So whether it's with him back at IU next season, just kind of helping him get comfortable, learn the ways of college basketball, all those types of things, that's going to be really important, having that level of experience. When it comes to Malik, Trayce and Race are going to be two of the most valuable players, valuable leaders you could have. I'm not sure there's two guys on one team that could be more valuable to a freshman like Malik than Trayce and Race. Two guys that have been around for a long time, have played a lot of basketball, a lot of successful basketball, a lot of unsuccessful basketball. You can learn how not to do things at times. And hopefully Malik, Jalen, even your other freshmen, Caleb and CJ, are sponges to just absorb all that information because it's a unique situation they find themselves in, and one that they could really benefit from. Malik's not going to have quite the role that Jalen has, but he's going to be important. The first big man off the bench is going to most likely be Malik. That's going to be really important. He's still going to see a lot of minutes playing behind Trayce and Race. His versatility, like we said, is not only going to allow him to get on the court more, it's going to allow him to stay on the court more because you can mix and match guys around him. So he's going to have a big role with this team. It's interesting because his recruitment happens so fast and so late in the process that I don't think there's the same level of buzz or hype necessarily that there is with Jalen. Maybe it's just their way they play as well. I'm not certain as to why it is the case, but it is interesting. At least with me, it doesn't feel like there's the same level of just general excitement for Malik as there is with Jalen. I could be wrong on that, but either way, Malik's going to have a really big role and should be really fun to watch this season. He's going to bring a different element to the Hoosiers that they did not have last year in the front court. Just his, again, I keep saying it, I sound like a broken record. His versatility is not something IU had last year if Trayce or Race went down. That's going to be very valuable to this team, and it's those types of small things that make the difference between IU being a 10 seed sneaking into the play-in game and barely making the tournament versus being a 2, 3, 4 seed Big Ten champion, that type of stuff as well. So I'm really excited for both of these guys. It's rare that IU adds 2 5-star recruits to a program. Fingers crossed that both of them are able to make big impacts this year. Thanks again, guys, for making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen every day. We'll be back with you tomorrow to talk women's basketball, do a couple of season previews for that. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Follow us on Twitter if you have not already at LO_Hoosiers. Subscribe, rate, and review. You guys know all that. I've been preaching it. It's a goal right now to get those ratings and reviews up. That's why I've been preaching it so much. So if you guys can help out there, I would be forever grateful. But what I want you guys to really do, though, is have a terrific Tuesday. And as always, LEO.